Oh, what's your soul saying? Oh, is your world changing?
Hi, welcome to part 1 of How to Overcome Artist Block. This is a 3-part series, and in this first part, we are going to talk all about how I came to create the Artist Block Workshop and what was the first step in overcoming artist block. So if you don't know me already, my name is Katie Bourgeois. I'm the owner of Studio Bourgeois, and I founded the Artist Block Workshop, an online course that helps creatives break through their artist block and create the flourishing art practice that they would like to have for the rest of their lives. So, I'm going to tell you the story of how I came up with this method to overcome artist block and a little bit about my personal history, because I figured this out through my own lived experience with artist block. So I was an artist my whole life. As a kid, I always was taking art classes in junior high and high school. And I went to Skidmore, where I majored in visual arts. So that was like my life. It was my identity. It was just who I was. I was an artist, and that was everything about my whole life. So I never thought that I would ever stop painting. It just was like inconceivable. But a few years after I graduated, when I was like 25 or so, I kind of stopped painting for 9 years. I would paint only like once a year during that time period, and I had severe artist block. I felt very disconnected from who I was and really lost, really. So looking back, I can kind of see that even before I stopped painting around age 25, I still was struggling with artist block. And tell me if this resonates with you. But basically, I just couldn't, I couldn't stay in the groove of like creating consistently. And like when you think of being an artist, you feel like that's something where you would just be connected to making your work, and you would be doing it at least on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. But that wasn't what was happening. I was kind of coming in and out. Like there would be weeks where I wouldn't paint at all, and then I would get back into it. And basically I was struggling with discipline. And so fast forward to, a few years ago, I'm starting to get really frustrated with this artist block. I've come to terms with the fact that I need to start painting again. It wasn't even an option not to. And I was determined to get back to it. I knew I needed to. And I did a lot of reading at that time to try to figure out why I couldn't just do it. Like this is what's so weird about artist block, right? It's like this mysterious force, and you don't even understand what's happening. All you know is that you can't make art. Like you just can't consistently do it or keep doing it. It's like you try and it just sort of fizzles out. Even if you have like a good painting session, like I remember painting a mural in our house here that was absolutely like an amazing experience, and then I just didn't keep painting, and it really puzzled me. And through the work of Mel Robbins, Seth Godin, and Steven Pressfield, I finally realized that the thing that I absolutely needed to do if I wanted to have that flourishing art practice, if I wanted to be an artist, if I wanted to get over artist block, was that I needed to come up with a schedule and stick to it. So if you think about it, and this is from Steven Pressfield, by the way, that this idea I'm about to present. If you had a 9-to-5 job, you would show up at 9, right? So it's kind of the same thing with your art. Like, why don't you show up at 9? Why don't you show up and make your art when you say you're going to? It's because there's no external force telling you that you have to. You have to be that person for yourself. So I ended up finally doing this and finally coming up with a schedule when I had my first baby, actually. And he was only 4 weeks old, but probably about a month before he was born, I had really like come to the point where I was serious and I was like, yes, I'm doing this. And at that time, I couldn't really handle too much. So what I did was I committed to half an hour once a week. That was it. And for me, that felt like enough. It felt like enough to bring me back. It felt like enough to gain some momentum, to get the ball rolling. You see, consistency is key, and it's what you're lacking. If you feel like you're uninspired, if you feel like you're just not getting in the zone, it's because you're not building momentum. And yeah, sometimes you're going to make art that's not very good, or sometimes you'll just have like a crappy session of painting or sculpting or whatever it is that you do. But the key is that you keep doing it on a regular basis. So I recommend doing it at least once a week. Could be just half an hour. That's fine to start. What you'll find, and what I found, is that eventually you will just want more and more, and you will just naturally start creating more and more. So here's the problem. That's easier said than done, right? Like, we have all been well-intentioned before, said, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to sign up for this gym membership, and then what happens? You don't go. The same thing can happen with making art, and it's hard. And, I look back, and it was pretty much right when I got out of school that I started having issues. And it's because at school, you have to go to class, you have to make X amount of paintings or X amount of work. You have assignments, you have a thesis, you have all this homework, and you can't just skip out because you'll fail. So that is what it is. You have to come up with a way to be disciplined. So in the next video, we are going to talk about how to overcome obstacles and excuses, yes, I'm going to use that word, that get in the way, that mental chatter that stops you from staying committed to the time that you said you were going to make art. So we will talk about that in the next video. I'll see you there.